Hello, in this video I will talk to you about cars that stop when you are walking. I will give you some examples from my life. Yesterday, or 2 days ago, I was coming home at night and a minivan slowed down, stopped, went backwards towards me, and I told my son, if anything happens, what do we do now? And he said, I will run to that neighbor's house. I said, perfect. Now, I didn't think about getting the license plate. I didn't think about about anything except getting my son to safety. All right, I did think about, since I was Baker acted, I'm not allowed to conceal carry. I'm not allowed to take my gun legally. For situations like this. But what happened was, this is like the third time that it's occurred in my life where cars pull over and they stop. Or it happened to my first spouse. It happened to the girlfriend in between. And it happened to the girlfriend in between and myself one time. So it's a tricky situation to be in. But back to this 2 days ago, what happened was I just found out who was the driver. And it was this spouse right here. But I didn't recognize the minivan. I didn't see the driver. It was at night. I didn't even look at the car and notice it until the car slowed down, and then it began to go backwards, but then it stopped. And at that hour, I'm not really going to help somebody that says they are lost. And it didn't occur to me. I didn't recognize the car. I didn't know what color it was. It was at night. And this spouse doesn't go out at that hour usually, or without telling me and things like that. But I didn't have my cell phone with me at the time. Well, not that I was gonna call the spouse to see if it was her. I didn't know. I didn't even think it was her. All right. And what happened was that my own mother, this spouse, took her to the hospital. And I didn't even know that until I got home and saw the note, So for all of you people out there, you can get your concealed carry permit. I believe it lasts 5 years. And if you're a Christian and you don't want to shoot anybody, the only reason you shoot people is to stop them from hurting you or hurting your other people that you care about. So if you're a Christian and all of that, you can put rubber bullets on it, on your gun if you want. All right. All right, so that's where I stand on that. All right, with my first spouse, what happened to her, there is a road that was deserted. I mean, it's full of cars, but at that moment, sometimes there are no cars. You know, when like the lights switch, when the lights turn red and there are no cars there. So there was one car at, I don't know what time, 10 o'clock at night, that was following her. And when you live in an apartment building and there's just no way to get into that apartment building, because she used to take the bus back then, except for the one entrance, which is all the way along. It's almost like 2 blocks that you gotta walk. There are no houses, but I don't trust neighbors that they're gonna call for help or even open the door if you run up to them. So like, it was a building. There's no entrance to the building except on the other side. And so she just kept on walking, and of course it was men that, or a man, at least one. There may have been more than one, I don't remember. But she didn't feel safe at that moment when the car slowed down to talk to her. Now, when I was younger, I also was driving a car, and I saw a beautiful girl, and I did talk to her from in the car because there was no parking. Now, don't do that if you're a man, because you frighten the girl. And there was just no parking, so I couldn't even go talk to her. But back to the spouse, the guys, they didn't do anything to her, and she just kept on walking, not talking to them. All right, so the next one, a couple of years later, I have my new girlfriend, and I just walked out of the house. It was a big old hotel, but it was really just rented rooms. So I walked out of there, crossed the street with her, took a few steps, and then a car came and stopped. It was going fine, but then it stopped all of a sudden to look at us. Of course, I look white, the girlfriend looks black, and she is pretty. All of these spouses are pretty, by the way. No, it's true. They are all pretty. But this girlfriend and I was a complete novice about guns and street safety. I was pretty good in martial arts, but I had not gone in my brain to the next level of guns and things. And so I just saw the guys and I smiled at them, and then the girl was hanging onto my arm, and that's it. All right. And they just stood looking at us, but they didn't speak. They were just admiring my beautiful girlfriend. And then they decided to drive off. But it sure be nice to have something in your back pocket that can stop people stop bad people at a distance. Of course, you don't want to make mistakes, you know. Some people, maybe they all wanted directions at that hour of the night. But it's not a good thing to do. And yes, I've been in that situation where I've been on the bus waiting for a long time, and from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and there is no bus coming. And I'm at the bus stop. There are like 3 other people there. We're all talking now because we practically know everything about each other now. I'm getting out of this town, says one guy. I'm joining the military. Another one says, is that bus really not coming? I mean, it's terrible. So one time I was driving in Florida, in Biscayne. It's a big road, a main road. And I saw a girl waiting for the bus. And of course, she was at one of those bus stops that has a light on her. And I did pull over and I said, Is everything all right? Do you need a ride? I mean, and then like she said, no, thank you. And then I started thinking, you're right. She's not supposed to say thanks, but I mean, she's not supposed to take rides from strangers. But I'm not the only one that thinks like that, because one of these friends that we've met here, I met him through the spouse, his spouse, this spouse, they're friends. And so I met him, and he mentioned how here in Florida, one time he saw an old woman with long white hair at the bus stop. And I've seen this old woman, all right? And he said that he would love to stop and pick her up, but he says, it's wrong. I'm not allowed to do that, you know? So he kept on driving. And then when he was driving back, he said, I did my errands, and an hour later, or even longer, maybe it was 2 hours, she's still waiting for that bus. And it just broke his heart. It broke his heart. And I've been in that situation also. One of the dreams I've had was to just have buses in this city that doesn't have buses. That's just a terrible. Florida does not have buses, all right? I mean, some people say they have little buses. They go and they don't come back. I mean, it's lousy service. So I might as well say it's a terrible service. So back to when I was younger, I used to go out on dates. And I don't recommend that you go out at night and walk around. I think that what today's kids do is they just walk around the mall, where that I think is safer than what I used to do, which was go to the beach in Miami and walk around. And then you've got you're crossing the bridge from the sidewalk to the sand to the beach, and you got 2 or 3 guys drinking their beer or drinking something, standing on the bridge. And I just don't like, I didn't like that situation, because they're lonely guys. Not that they're all criminals. None of them attacked me, or the girlfriend. But it's not the best thing to do, to take your girl to places that are dangerous, which I would say at night, or in the daylight, it's too hot, but it's just terrible to go to the beach and walk around, and it's all romantic and stuff, but it's not, unless you're carrying your concealed weapon legally. I wouldn't recommend doing it. And then I wouldn't recommend doing it because then the biggest problem you have is the court system. And something goes wrong where you defend yourself, then they just throw you in jail for doing that. So it's better when the punch comes. Mr. Miyagi, right from the Karate Kid. When the punch comes, not be there. Don't be there. Don't be there when the punch comes. So like, don't place yourself in danger. Don't go out at night. Don't go to the beach at night with your girlfriend and put her in danger. All of these expressways, they have these places, rest areas. I don't like them. I see them as booby traps. I just don't like those places. Yeah. So the spouse has been talking. Well, we talked about my mother going to the hospital and things like that. So she mentioned how it was her on the minivan. She said, "You didn't recognize the car? You didn't see me?" And I said, "No." And then she said that she was going to back up, but then she said she got the idea that our son would run up to the car, and then since she couldn't see in the mirrors because it was so dark, then she would run him over, and so she didn't She started to, but then she didn't continue with that. So that was all the that was all the commotion. All right, so you got to be 21 to conceal carry in the United States. I didn't find out those things until I was way past 21. 21, I was just looking for a girlfriend. But once you have kids, you start thinking about protecting your family, and like even football, do you really want your kids to be smashed by other kids? No. Even in basketball, it's gotten to be too physical. I was a substitute at a high school, and one guy choked out another guy in the closet when they were putting away the basketballs, and it was just because he didn't pass the ball during the game. And that was my mistake, because I let him choke him out, because I reached up to his ear and I said, let him go or I'll pull your ear. But then I remembered the training I had, that stupid training from the substitute teachers. They said, don't touch the children. Don't touch the children. All right, this guy was a giant. I'm 5'10". This guy is, well, that tall. I had to reach up to get his ear. And I didn't touch his ear because I remember the training. Don't touch the children. Don't touch the children. And then I had a scotoma, which means I didn't see the button. I ran around the room looking for that button where I can call for backup. And I couldn't find the button because they didn't put it where they normally put it. In all the classrooms, it's right next to the door. This one, I never found it. It must have been on the other wall. And so I ran to the next teacher and they called up the security guards. They call them guidance counselors. These are security guards. They walk around with whistles to make sure everybody goes back to the classroom, because otherwise the kids, they stay out of the hallways. They stay out in the hallways kissing and talking, and they just don't move out of anybody's way except when someone's blowing a whistle, sometimes right by their ear. I had to go like this, or when I saw them I ran the other way because I knew he was walking around with his whistle. All right, be safe. What should you do to protect yourself? Plan on doing something. Take care for now.